Hello, this is Joel Leyden with the Israel News Agency. And today I'll be speaking with Yusuf Tyebkhan, a very well-known and respected author and poet born in India and right now residing in Egypt. And we're going to be discussing Middle East peace. How are you, Yusuf?
I'm fine, Joe. Thank you for having me on your program.
So let's begin with a little bit of in regards to your background. Can you tell us something about yourself?
Well, I was born in India in 1947, and in 1949, my father moved me and my whole family to Hong Kong, where I lived until 1993. In the interim, I came to the United States, where I studied at the University of Connecticut and majored in business administration, anthropology, children's literature. After that, I returned to Hong Kong, where I worked in my family business. In the meantime, I also got married, and in 1993, I moved with my family to Cairo, 1993, where I have lived for nearly 30 years now. I have 5 children and 9 grandchildren. Altogether, there are 21 of us in my family. That is my background.
So it sounds as though you're in a position where you could discuss India, Egypt, the Middle East, and Connecticut.
And the Far East, Hong Kong. I lived there
Oh, that's
44
right.
years.
So let us put our attention onto what's presently happening today in the Middle East. As I'm sure you're aware of, we're witnessing, thank God, Baruch Hashem, Inshallah, a lot of peacemaking moves by Israel, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and possibly coming up pretty soon would be Saudi Arabia. What are your thoughts in regards to Bahrain, Morocco, United Arab Emirates, and Israel at this point really moving very, very close together in terms of enhancing their relations, their trade, their tourism?
Well, I think some of the countries are moving close together. But again, I may have said in the last interview, I have not seen any concrete peace moves that has resulted in a peace agreement where we can say that, now we have a peace in the Middle East and we can preserve it. There are no real leaders in this process. Some of the leaders that may have been there at one time, for example, Yasser Arafat and Sadat, President Sadat of Egypt, they were leaders and they were peacemakers. They were interested in the process and they were not after power so much. And I don't see anybody on the Middle East stage today that can take their place or is ready to take their place and really promote peace. So until we do have a peace agreement, I am not very optimistic that peace can be achieved for the time being.
So let me ask you a question in regards to Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat had the opportunity of signing a peace agreement with the state of Israel at Camp David in the United States. He was with Yitzhak Rabin, and he told Rabin, I'd like to have peace, but if I sign this peace agreement, you'll be walking behind my casket. And as a result of that,
Right.
he signed a peace agreement. So why would you use a man like Yasser Arafat as an example, let's say in comparison to Anwar Sadat of Egypt, who actually did sign a peace agreement? He ultimately paid with his life, but he had the courage to sign a peace agreement and create peace between the state of Israel and the Republic of Egypt.
I think Yasser Arafat had a lot of contact with the roots people, under the roots, that means the people of the Middle East, the different countries, the different groups, the Salafin and all these other groups that were there. He had a very good contact with all these people. And if anything, he would be the one who would have been able to unite these people together and say, look, let's go to the table and at least sign a peace agreement, get these things going. The reason he could not do that was because if he had signed any agreement at that time, he would have, he would have, given up any chance. He would have sold himself to the Americans or whatever the powers were, I feel, because they were controlling everything. He had no control over anything. He had no power as such. He had no one with him. And that's why I think that Yasser Arafat is important, this context, that we have to include him in any discussion on the Middle East peace.
But Yasser Arafat had the opportunity of signing a peace agreement, and he walked away from it.
Well, because it was not in the interest of the Palestinians or in the interest of the Middle Eastern parties. He was selling them out. So why should he sign?
Why do you say he was selling them out?
Where was the agreement? Where did the agreement never took place? Because they were all talking about different things, but in the end, no one came to actually sign it. None of the Americans, nor even the Middle East countries like Dubai or say Saudi Arabia. No one sided with him. So why should he sign?
Well, he expressed himself. He articulated saying, I could sign this peace agreement, but if I do that, then I will lose my life.
Yes, he did. He didn't lose his life, actually. He died of a natural death. But that was a real threat that he had. And why should he take the risk?
Well, I believe, for argument's sake, that he could have relied upon his own security, the security of the United States, the security that the Israelis would have provided for him, and that he would have lived a long and good life.
I
Not
don't
that
know if that's what
security,
happened.
not that anyone can, let's say, control things 100%. I mean, if we take a look at Salman Rushdie, I mean, he had a lot of security around him. He actually got tired of having all the security around him, and he reduced it. And as a result of that, unfortunately, he was, I believe, stabbed 10 times in his neck, and he's presently or has been on a ventilator. But thank God, from what I understand, he has survived this attack on his life. What are your thoughts about Salman Rushdie?
Salman Rushdie, well, he had some points where he wrote some things about satanic verses. I mean, I pray the Quran every day. I'm not an expert on it, but I do understand some of it. And I do know that the extreme language he uses, hate and whatever, hate and all these things, they're not the Quran, okay? In my opinion. That's why he was so disliked. That's why he had to go into hiding. And today even he's in hiding in the United States. They cannot walk a free man because he said things which upset a lot of very sincere and perhaps fundamental Muslims, might say. But I believe that he did more to smear Islam than to promote it in his Satanic Verses book.
Have you ever met?
Cannot,
Have you ever met Salman Rushdie?
not call the Prophet Muhammad a warmonger. I mean, that is ridiculous. I mean, everything he preached in his whole life, everything that he knew, the Quran, everything. He preached peace, he preached harmony, he preached order, he preached calm. He preached the teachings of Muhammad, is what they call this hadith, his sayings. None of them talk about war except to protect yourself, So that's why Salman Rushdie, I personally don't like him views. I mean, I have nothing against the man himself.
So then let me ask you, what one individual do you believe has done more to promote peace in the Middle East than perhaps anyone?
I don't know. I don't think there's anybody. I think one might look at the leaders of the Emirates in Dubai. His Royal Highness King, what's his name now? I think the king, and I also think that Sisi has some chance, but he has to have some backbone first. I think he's very, very good man and clever, and he has to get more support. That's the main thing I think that is lacking in all these people. They don't have the ground roots and influential support of the leaders. Without that, cannot. Sisi, I'll put Sisi and Dubai as the two parties today that have a chance of reaching a peace agreement, promoting peace in the Middle East.
Of any party in the Middle East who is obstructing a path, a road to peace, which party, which nation, which entity would you believe that would be?
I can't say. I suppose Iran, you might say, but no, there's no proof of it. They may be working behind the scenes to try and disrupt the process because it's in their interest to have fundamentalism and division. Maybe. I mean, this is just speculation. I'm not pointing any anything at them. Apart from that, the other nations, in any event, I think will go along with in the Middle East with Dubai and Egypt,
Well,
except Iran.
as we know, Iran is making every attempt to attack Israel via its
Yes.
proxies, via Hamas, Hezbollah, and other proxies that it has. At the same time, it's attacking Saudi Arabia. I don't see other Arab states attacking other Arab states. I don't. The only
That's why I
activity.
think that Iran is a divisive factor in the Middle East peace process. It's my personal opinion.
So, would you have any words to the leaders of Iran in terms of what they're doing and how they should do it?
Well, I think they need to be more moderate as they in their outlook, more tolerance for others. I think this is the main thing: moderation and tolerance. Like they have to be willing to come and talk together and make peace. And I don't think they're actively promoting war. I would not say that. No nation can afford to do that. But at the same time, they're not doing anything to bring themselves closer to any of the other Arab countries.
Well, when you say they're not actively promoting war, I mean, you have missiles and rockets. You've just had over 1,000 rockets being launched out of Gaza towards Israel. 1,000 rockets, all of which were paid for by Iran, again through its proxy Islamic Jihad, Hamas, Hezbollah. At the same time, the Iranian government has been, shooting rockets and missiles off at Saudi Arabia and some other nation states in the Middle East. So, how are you able to say that they're not active in terms of promoting or being a catalyst for division, for war?
But they're a divisive force. I said that. They are a divisive force. There's only so much. I mean, like they were going to block the entrance to the Persian Gulf of their boats and their aircraft carriers, air force. What they do in the end? They don't have the power.
So, if you have, let's say, words that you would want to have the ears of the Iranians, I mean, what would you be saying to them today? I mean, if you were in the same room with the leaders of the Iranian government, I mean, what would you say?
Just request them to please be more tolerant. That's what I would say. Be more tolerant.
But they're
Be
they're
ready to come
but
together.
they would
Be
probably
ready to come.
respond to you by saying, "Well, we're just following the Quran, and the Quran says this and says that." Are they really following the Quran, Yusuf?
Who's following Iran today?
Is the government of Iran truly following the words of the Quran?
I will not go into that. I don't know. I don't know enough about that. I'm talking about Salman Rushdie. not about Iran. I don't know about Iran. I'm sure the Iranians are very religious people. I know that. I know that they practice their religion very seriously. Ramadan, all festivals, everything, and that there is a lot of fanfare whenever any festival comes around. And they revere the Prophet Muhammad and his successors. Definitely, there's no question about Iran as far as Islam goes. I don't believe in the sincerity in that.
Does
It is,
the
it is,
Quran
it is Salman Rushdie.
does the Quran call for the death of infidels?
Actually, I think it does. Yes.
So would Iran be following those verses or those, let's say, those satanic verses?
I'm sure they're aware. They know about them. And, they're very angry about it. They wish that Salman Rushdie was just disappear. And whether they actually want to assassinate him, I cannot say. We don't know. There are enough extremist people in the world, apart from Iran, in other countries that have wanted to do this to Salman Rushdie for a long time. That's why he had to go into hiding.
Well, you're aware of the fact that, just about a week before they tried to assassinate Salman Rushdie, the Iranian government tried to assassinate U.S. Ambassador John Bolton. That an assassin was arrested. They had the plot, and they were able to. The U.S. government was able to intercede and interrupt and to neutralize that threat against Ambassador Bolton. So Iran hasn't been exactly very quiet. In fact, they're advertising almost on a daily basis that they can't wait to acquire a nuclear weapon so they could wipe Israel off the face of the map.
Yes, Israel has been their enemy, works both ways. And they're Israel's enemy, Israel is their enemy. They both like to wipe each other off the planet. Actually, that's what I think.
Would you equate Iran to Israel? Or, Israel, states that it practices democracy. Iran does not practice democracy. They're two completely different uh, nations with different cultures.
Practicing what? I'm sorry. I missed that. Practicing what?
Democracy. In other
Uh,
words, if you want to hold power in Israel, you've got to be voted into that power. In Iran, I don't believe you have democratic elections.
Israel is not democratic. Okay, let's face it. In my opinion, and Iran, I don't think it's democratic. I mean, they have a clergy system, clergy hierarchy, and they have these people are the people who rule Iran, I suppose say, and the people of Iran are happy to follow them because they're not preaching a fundamentalist. I don't think Iran is fundamentalist. Iran is, it's not a democratic state, right?
Why
But
would
at
you
the
say
same,
that? Why would you say that Israel is not a democracy?
see, where do the Arabs have a vote really? They're told where to live. They're told where to be. They're told where they can go. They can't go. You have a government who more or less controls everything. The army is in charge in Israel. I think whenever the army is in charge, you can be sure that there's no democracy.
But you have a large sector of Arabs that take part in Israel's Knesset, Israel's parliament, and they're part of the voting process. I mean, these are Arab Muslims, these are Arab Christians, but mostly Arab Muslims that take part in Israel's Knesset, taking part in each and every vote that takes place. There's no separation in the government between Arab Muslims and Israeli Jews.
These Arab Muslims in this Knesset, have they really got anything done, the Arabs in Israel in terms of freedom? This is actually the main issue. They can't. I don't think they can.
You don't believe that there's more freedom for Palestinians in Israel, for Arabs that are living in Israel than Arabs that are living in, let's say, in other Middle East countries?
All Middle East is Arabs. what you can't differentiate. All people of Dubai, the people of Kuwait, they're all Arabs. I mean, I'm not clear about your question.
Okay, for instance, Arab Muslims have freedom of religion. They're able to come to Jerusalem and they're able to pray freely. Where
Yeah.
Jews are not able to pray freely in many Arab Muslim states. So there's a distinction there in regards to let's say just in terms of freedom of religion. Before 1967, Jews were not allowed to go to the Western Wall. They were prevented from going there. It was they were prevented by Jordan. Um, there was no Palestine. It was Jordan that had occupied what's known today as East Jerusalem. It was Jordan that was responsible for who comes in and who does not come in, who could pray, who could not pray. And then after the 67 war and Israel's government then was responsible for the city of Jerusalem, which is a beautiful city, which is shared by Muslims, Jews, and Christians today, where people can pray freely. But this was not the case before 1967. It's not the case for many Jews who are traveling throughout the Middle East today. Do you agree or you disagree with us?
Uh, I'm not sure about your question, but I can just say this, that I feel that most of the religious sites in the Middle East now, or I don't think there's any pressure to close them Arab any of them. Before 1967, as you said, it's much more restrictive. I don't think that exists anymore. That is because of time, and the people are more, as I said, people in the Middle East are more tolerant. I mean, today anybody can come to Egypt and get a mausoleum of the grandson of the Holy Prophet Imam Hussein. There is no restriction on them. There's nothing stopping them. That I know because I'm living here. See that every day when I go. You have different people coming in. Yes, stop. I go. Perhaps a lot of many Muslims. Even I've seen many times outsiders inside. Just come to see the beauty of the mausoleum, which has been restored now. See, so this is happening, and I'm sure that is happening in, say, if you go to any other country, you go and see the Grand Mosque of Dubai, or you go to, even in Cairo, the Grand Mosque, what they call the caliphs that they build. Anyone can go there. There is no restriction. But before 1967, I agree. There was a lot of restriction. That was because of fear. Fear is no longer there. As I said, that people have become more tolerant, they've become closer, and that is why all these things are better. The main thing is, I would just say again, that in the Middle East, there is no true leadership to unite. That is actually, I think, perhaps the best way to put it. And that keeps
Who do you
creating
think could who do you think has the potential to be that leader?
I
Who
don't know.
or not just one person, are there a few names that you could
I don't know.
articulate?
I can say perhaps because they all don't trust. Frankly, the leaders don't trust each other. I think that is one of the main problems. I won't. Why should I do it? This is actually the main problem. The trust cannot is not there at the present time.
So who's
Until this
creating
trust
all
is
the
there.
so who would be creating all the peace agreements that are taking place right now, let's say between Israel, Bahrain, Israel, United Arab Emirates, Israel, Morocco, uh
But actually, go on. Sorry.
sorry, no, go ahead. I mean, who do you believe is initiating these peace agreements? And it's a real peace. I mean, today you have tens of thousands of Israelis visiting Dubai, visiting the United Arab Emirates. It's almost like you're going to an Israeli city. And for the good people of the United Arab Emirates, when they're coming to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem, they're feeling like they're at home as well too. It's a very close. It's become a very loving relationship, not just respect and trust, but really one of love.
I think that today it's a lot of traveling and visiting countries is for economic reasons. All countries want to promote their economy. They encourage to come in the UK or in Egypt, even they encourage tourism, and they want more people to come. And they in places like UK, they encourage. I don't know if they encourage actual settlement, but they do encourage you to apply if you want to come. United States, you can always apply to and live there if you want. All these things are happening for economic reasons. It is the economic force that is driving this tourism. I don't think people are going for any ideological or political reason. That's all past.
Do you feel a real peace being an Indian born and living in Egypt? Do you feel a real peace between Egypt and Israel? Can you see it? Can you feel it?
No, I can't. I can't feel it. I don't know how it. They are peaceful. I don't know. I can't say. I can't answer that question because I don't know. I don't see.
In other words, an example I can give would be if you walk into a supermarket in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, you'll see Israeli flags right next to UAE flags. Let's say produce, fruit that's brought in from Israel. They proudly put up the Israeli flag right next to the fruit in a supermarket, let's say in Dubai. And the Israelis would do the same thing, let's say in Tel Aviv or in Haifa or in Jerusalem to show the United Arab Emirates flag next to their produce, being very, very proud to say, hey, we're not just working together, but we have a lot of respect for one another. You don't see any of that in Egypt?
I mean, they're the same in Cairo. You can go into any shop and there'll be different nationality shopping. I mean, you know, if there's a flag shop, I'm sure they would put the Israeli flag beside the Egyptian flag. I don't know
So
if
you
it's
do
not
see it.
right. Yeah, I can see it. It's probably happening. There's probably a shop which I don't know that's selling both Israeli and Egyptian flags side by side. But you go into a supermarket, going to amusement parks, you're going to shopping malls, you're going to parks, you're going to the resorts in Hurghada or in Sharm el Sheikh. All nationalities mingle together, and that is as I said before, one of the main reasons for all this drive power of the economic drive to better yourself, have more.
So then you see the
Also,
economy, you see trade as really being the catalyst for peace in the Middle East.
yeah, yes, people want to be more friendly. No one wants war. Who wants to fight? I mean, let's face it. Everybody wants peace. Everybody wants to live happily. Everybody wants to talk. I like talk with you. We talk. Yeah, we don't have to fight or anything. Why should we want to do that? There's no reason. It's very destructive. And it's a destructive process of this kind of behavior. We're all trying. I'm not saying we're not trying, but my question always is, I mean, maybe I'm a realist or a pessimist. I'm just waiting to see what will happen in the future. Right now, I'm not that optimistic about peace, but I have a lot of hopes.
So in terms of your hopes for peace, what are the most positive actions for peace do you see right now taking place in the Middle East?
Well, people getting together, shopping, getting together, social gatherings, things like that, malls, going to parks, going to resorts, spending time together, having meals together, going to restaurants. All this is happening right in front of me in Cairo, and I'm sure it's happening in every other country, every other city in the Middle East. I can't see that happen.
Have
That is
you
my
met
hope.
have you met any Israelis in the streets of Cairo?
Um, no, I've not actually, because I can't tell the difference. Okay, if it is Australia or not. Either they're dressed like you in Western clothes, or they're wearing a galabia, then I can't tell. But if I met one and he said I'm Israeli, I'd be very, very happy to welcome him, shake his hand. You know, I mean,
So if
there'd
an
be no
Israeli
problem.
organization wanted to sponsor you to come, let's say, to Tel Aviv or come to Jerusalem or come to Haifa, to come to any of the cities, any of the towns in Israel to host you as a respected author, respected poet, you would take them up on that. Am I correct?
Depends on which organization it was.
No, I would say, there's an organization
I mean,
such
if it was
as
like the
artists,
United
artists
World,
for
the United New Age,
artists for peace. There are a number of cultural organizations
no
that are
problem with that.
dedicated
I just
to
have to know
peace in the
that
Middle East.
who's sponsoring it. It's not- I just have to know that who is sponsoring my trip. That's the only thing I would like to know. No, I mean, if I feel that they're uh, in line with my thinking and they're friendly people, good people, no problem with anybody in the world, actually.
One organization would be Artists for Israel. Artists for Israel, or really Artists for Peace. They're advocating peace throughout the entire Middle East, and trying to use art,
I would go.
and trying to use art as
I would go.
as bridges to foment and to create a lasting peace and understanding and trust and respect between the various peoples. So there are a number of organizations. Perhaps I'll reach out to a few of them and give them your telephone number and say, why don't you bring Yusuf in, and hopefully, I'm sure there are organizations in Egypt that would also be willing to host Israeli artists. Again, just for people to come together to enjoy falafel, to enjoy the hummus, to enjoy some really fine, good Middle Eastern food together, to share a cup of
I
coffee,
think art is,
and just to talk the way that we are talking right now.
I think art is a very, very, very powerful medium to promote friendship. Okay, definitely. Whether you're painting or writing, I mean, as I said, one picture says 1,000 words. You must have heard that before. I can't go save my life. Fortunately, I've been gifted with the power of writing, poetry, and verse, and also nonfiction.
Do you have any books which are dedicated to peace in the Middle East?
Yeah, I am now writing one. I may take a couple of minutes to divert. I'm writing a book called Universes in Undulation, and it is a book about the power of something which I've created, which I call loving grace. Okay, and it permeates everything. It's the beautiful aura and mist that is in every one of us, and it moves us along in our life. And it's a very gentle, slow-moving, flowing force. It guides you to a destination which I call the ethereal realm, the ultimate loving grace. That is where it comes from originally. And it is this realm and this loving grace is created by our Creator, whether you God or love, our Creator. And He has done this out of His love, His compassion, and His mercy for all His creations. And in that sense, I would say that I am Loving Grace is my book, is my landmark book when it comes out at the end of the year. I tell you all about what Loving Grace is and how it has changed my life, because I was not aware of it until about a year or two ago. It's been there since you were born. It's in you. Become aware of it. It takes time.
So the book is called Loving Grace.
No, the book is called Universes in Undulation. Universes in Undulation. And
Okay.
it's a cosmological journey of waves, harmony, and colors with loving grace.
And where would one be able to purchase that book?
It's not out yet.
No, but once it is, what would it be
I'm in
on
the final
Amazon?
stage. It's in a manuscript form, and I have to put some more illustrations inside, make some corrections, and then have it print. That would take 2-3 months, maybe more. I would say by the end of the year, you can expect to see it. Okay.
So which books do you have right now that people can, let's say, go online, go to Amazon and purchase? Which
One book.
books have you published?
I published 2 poetry books. One is called I told you the other day, Tefeloney Undulations, and the other poetry book is Erupting Undulations, which actually is not on the market yet because I have not received the copyright numbers, ISBN numbers, but the other book is on the market. can be purchased online, Facebook, Instagram, and all these places. But right now, I'm not in the I'm not out to sell anything as such, make money. I'm just mainly giving it, and I put it on Instagram, and people want it, they can buy it. It's available in India on Facebook India, on Amazon India, available there. Buy it. And I have not sold maybe 7. It's not something I'm marketing at present. That's where you will come in the future.
So let me ask you, is there anything that you are actively involved in right now that, let's say, that you have published or that you are about to publish that you would, or that someone else has even published, that you would suggest that people go out and read in terms of grabbing a better understanding of how the Middle East works and how peace in the Middle East can become a reality?
I have never written, I have no expertise at all, write or anything on the Middle East. I don't know it well. I just know talking to people and reading. But I have written one poem called Peace Denied. And this poem is, I think it's a very powerful poem that condemns those who fight wars and destroy peace everywhere, not in Israel or in Egypt or anywhere, or say in Vietnam or anywhere else. I'll send it to you later on today, and you can read it and you tell me your feedback, what you think about it.
You've got a deal. Would you condemn? Would you condemn the? Would you condemn the Islamic terrorism, the jihad that Iran is exporting?
I don't know if they're exporting. I don't know. I don't know enough to say that. I condemn terrorism. Period. Okay, but
Well,
I can't say that it.
but the proxies of Iran are Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad.
I don't know what they're promoting. I cannot say. I'm sorry.
But nor do I want to make you. But nor do I want to make you a target. Okay. Again, this video is going to be made public. All I know is that Yusuf, you are a man of peace. You act for peace. Your actions speak louder than some of the words that you write. You're a man who is not afraid, but yet has the courage to come on here and to speak as a human being, and to state quite honestly that most of us, was it 95% of all Muslims, Christians, and Jews, desire nothing less than to have a peaceful world, and the way to achieve that peace would be through understanding, through tolerance, and through just getting together and enjoying a good cup of coffee.
That's right. That's
Are
what
there
I enjoy.
are there any words that you would like to add?
Well, I would like to say that as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you, and I look forward to our next cup of coffee. That's my say.
And Yosef, I promise you that that cup of coffee will have a lot of sugar in it. Yosef, thank you for being with us today. This is Joel Leyden on behalf of the Israel News Agency, having spoken with Yusuf Tyebkhan, a very well-known and respected author and poet, born in India, residing in Egypt, and traveling the world from time to time, getting out his beautiful verses of peace, unity, friendship, and love. Yosef, it's really a pleasure to have had you on today. Look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon, and I look forward to that cup of coffee. Joel Leyden, wishing you all a good day or good evening.
Just one small point, Joe. I am at present writing more poems for a third poetry book, and Peace Denied is one of them. Okay, just to let you know.
So we should look out
right now in the process of writing more poetry.
So Peace Denied has already been written. Am I correct?
It's written. Yes, I haven't. It's just it's on the laptop. That's all, and I'll send it to you today.
Okay.
And you can read it.
Let us know when Peace Denied is available through Amazon, so other people can reach out and grab it. Okay,
Well, I'll send it to you and you decide how to promote it, okay?
you've got a deal.
I'll send it to you. It's only 3 pages. So I'll send you page by page on your WhatsApp and you can just look at it and
So then perhaps what
put it on
perhaps what we
online.
could do is we could then take those 3 pages, place them on the Israel News Agency, and that would be the first exposure, perhaps. And then after that, hopefully we could then find it, through larger platforms such as Amazon.com. Again, Yusuf, really a pleasure, really a joy to have been speaking with you. Joel Leyden for the Israel News Agency.
Thank you for having me on this program. Thank you for having me on this program. And as they always say, I always tell everybody at the end that shalom and salams.
And I say, inshallah, Baruch Hashem, inshallah, Baruch Hashem, Toda Rabah, Salam, Shalom.